I'm standing in my front yard watching flames lick through my daughter's bedroom window, and the only thing between her and safety is a padlock I didn't put there. 23 minutes ago, I was at the grocery store buying her favorite strawberry yogurt. Now I'm screaming her name so hard my throat bleeds, and all I can think is, this is how I lose everything. Let me back up. 3 weeks. That's how long it took for Patricia Moreland to decide my family didn't belong in Riverside Meadows HOA. Not 3 months, not 3 years. 3 weeks. My daughter Emma is 14. She has cerebral palsy, uses a wheelchair, and has the most infectious laugh you've ever heard, the kind that makes strangers in grocery stores smile despite themselves. When we moved into 47 Maple Drive, I thought we'd found paradise. Ramps already installed, wide doorways, a neighborhood that looked like a postcard, perfect lawns, perfect houses, perfect lives. Patricia lived directly across the street at number 52. I met her the day we moved in. She walked over holding a casserole dish, her smile tight as a piano wire. "Welcome to Riverside Meadows," she said, her eyes scanning our moving truck. "I'm Patricia, HOA president. Just want to make sure you've received your covenant handbook. Page 47 covers external modifications. You'll need approval before making any changes." Her eyes lingered on the portable ramp the movers were unloading. "The ramps were pre-installed," I said, keeping my voice friendly. "Previous owners had them put in." She handed me the casserole, green bean with suspicious brown edges. "Well, there are also noise ordinances, children playing, music, that sort of thing. We maintain certain standards." Emma rolled out onto the porch at that exact moment, her wheelchair catching slightly on the threshold. "Mom, they have a pool. Can we?" She stopped, seeing Patricia. Patricia's smile evaporated. She looked at Emma like you'd look at a scratch on a new car, not with hatred exactly, with inconvenience. "I see," Patricia said quietly. "Well, do read the handbook carefully. Every rule exists for a reason." Week 1, a violation notice about our medical waste bin, Emma's catheter supplies, being unsightly. I moved it to the garage. Week 2, a complaint that Emma's adaptive bike, the one she'd begged for all year, the one that let her finally ride alongside other kids, violated the recreational vehicle storage clause. I chained it behind the house. Week 3, Monday. Patricia knocked on our door at 7:15 a.m. I was helping Emma with her morning routine, something that takes 45 minutes and all my patience when she's having a spasticity flare. "Your gardener blew grass clippings onto my driveway," Patricia announced through the screen door. "This is the 3rd time." "I'll talk to him," I said, not opening the door. Emma was partially dressed, vulnerable. "You'll do more than talk. I'm documenting everything, Diane. Every violation. Your grace period is over." The way she said grace period, like we were prisoners on parole. Week 3, Friday. The day that would split my life into before and after. I had a dentist appointment at 2 p.m., my first in 3 years because I'd finally found someone who understood I couldn't leave Emma for long. The appointment ran over. Then traffic. Then I stopped at the store because we were out of Emma's yogurt, and if she doesn't have her routine, the whole evening collapses. I texted our neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who sometimes watched Emma. No response. I called Emma. "Hey baby, I'm 20 minutes out. You okay?" "Yeah, watching that baking show." "Mom, can we make macarons?" "We'll burn the house down trying, but sure." We both laughed. She had no idea how prophetic that joke would become. "Love you, monster. Lock the door behind me, okay?" "Already did. Love you more." I pulled into our street at 4:47 p.m. I know the exact time because later the investigators asked me approximately when I arrived. When I saw smoke threading from our roof, my brain couldn't process it. That can't be our house. That's someone else's emergency. Then I saw Emma's bedroom window. Black smoke was pouring out, and behind it, God help me, I saw the flicker of orange. I abandoned my car in the middle of the street and ran. I didn't think about my purse, my keys, my phone, just ran. When I hit our front porch, I grabbed the door handle. Locked. My keys were in the car, but I had a hide-a-key under the planter. The planter was gone. In its place was a violation notice, zip-tied to the porch railing. Unapproved decorative items, remove within 24 hours. That's when I started screaming Emma's name. I ran to her bedroom window, the one that we'd had modified with a quick-release safety latch so she could open it from her wheelchair in case of emergency. I grabbed the frame and pulled. It didn't budge. Through the smoke, I saw it. A heavy-duty padlock drilled into the window frame from the outside. Industrial, deliberate, new. Across the street, Patricia stood on her pristine lawn, phone in her hand, watching. Not calling for help, just watching. I ran back to the front door and threw my whole body against it. Once, twice. The smoke was getting thicker. I could hear Emma coughing inside, calling for me, her voice high and terrified. "Mom! Mom! I'm coming, baby! I'm coming!" But I wasn't. The door wouldn't break, the window wouldn't open, and my daughter, my beautiful, trapped daughter, was on the other side of walls that suddenly felt like a tomb. That's when I heard Patricia's voice, calm as Sunday morning. I called the fire department. They said they're on their way, should be here in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Emma had maybe 5. I made a sound I'd never made before, something between a scream and a prayer, and grabbed the decorative boulder from Patricia's own xeriscaped garden. 20 pounds of river rock. I heaved it through our living room window. The glass exploded inward. Smoke billowed out like the house was exhaling poison. I knocked out the remaining shards with my forearm, barely feeling the cuts, and dove through. The heat hit me like a physical wall. The smoke was so thick I couldn't see 3 feet ahead. I dropped to my knees where the air was clearer and crawled toward Emma's room, screaming her name. "Mom!" Her voice came from the wrong direction. The hallway, not her bedroom. She'd gotten out of her room somehow. I can't breathe." The smoke alarm was shrieking. I could hear the crackle of flames growing louder, and underneath it, a sound that still haunts me. Emma's wheelchair. The distinct squeak of her trying to push herself toward my voice, each push weaker than the last. I found her halfway down the hall. She'd collapsed halfway out of her chair, her face streaked with soot and tears. I grabbed her under the arms and pulled her to my chest. "I've got you, baby. I've got you." But I didn't know which way was out. The smoke was disorienting, and the heat was intensifying. I could see an orange glow to my left, the kitchen, fully engulfed. The living room window I'd broken through felt like it was miles away in the wrong direction. Emma's head lolled against my shoulder. She wasn't coughing anymore. That's worse. That means there's nothing left to cough out. I made a choice. I dragged her toward what I prayed was the front of the house. My lungs were screaming. My vision was tunneling. Emma was dead weight in my arms, and I thought, this is it. This is how we both die. 15 feet from safety because a woman didn't like the look of a wheelchair ramp. Then I heard it. Axes on wood, shouting. The front door exploded inward in a shower of splinters. Firefighters in full gear appeared through the smoke like angels. Strong hands grabbed Emma from my arms. Other hands grabbed me. We were both rushed outside, laid on the lawn, oxygen masks pressed to our faces. I couldn't speak, could only watch as they worked on Emma. CPR. She wasn't breathing. 14 years old and not breathing, and I'd done this. I'd left her. She coughed. Once, twice, gasped and coughed again. The paramedic working on her looked at me. "She's back. Your daughter's back." I sobbed so hard I vomited onto the grass. The fire was out within 30 minutes, but our home was destroyed. The investigator said it started in the kitchen. Faulty wiring in an outlet. Old houses. These things happen, except they don't have to be death sentences. They don't have to be murder. When I could finally speak, I grabbed the fire chief's arm. "Someone locked us in. The window. There was a padlock." He nodded grimly. "We saw it. We had to cut through it to get the window open from outside. We've already called the police." Patricia was still on her lawn, still watching. But now there were neighbors gathered too, and their faces weren't sympathetic to her. Mrs. Chen was there, her face stricken. "I got your text," she said to me, crying. "I was at physical therapy. I didn't see it until I was driving home and saw the smoke. Diane, I'm so sorry. This isn't your fault." I looked directly at Patricia. "It's hers." The police took statements from everyone. What came out over the next hours shattered whatever illusion I'd had about suburban civility. Patricia had installed the padlock on Emma's window at 3:30 p.m., 2 hours before the fire, while I was at my dentist. Mrs. Chen's Ring camera caught her doing it. She'd also removed our hide-a-key planter that morning. Both actions documented. But why? The detective found emails. So many emails. Patricia had been campaigning to amend the HOA covenants to prohibit medically disabled residents from the community. She claimed Emma's adaptive equipment lowered property values, that her condition made neighbors uncomfortable, that this was supposed to be a family-friendly community, as if my daughter wasn't part of a family. Most residents had ignored her. Some reported feeling harassed by her constant complaints about us. She'd grown increasingly erratic, obsessive. The padlock was meant to be evidence for an emergency HOA meeting she'd called for Monday. She was going to argue that our safety modifications were unapproved and that she'd secured the violation until it could be addressed. She'd planned to remove the padlock Sunday night. She didn't think there'd be a fire. She didn't think her petty cruelty would turn lethal, but it did. Emma spent 3 days in the hospital for smoke inhalation. I never left her side. We had nothing. Our home was uninhabitable, our belongings destroyed. But we had each other, and that's the only thing that mattered. Patricia was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment, false imprisonment, and after the DA reviewed the evidence, attempted manslaughter. The HOA dissolved her presidency immediately and voted to cover our temporary housing and repairs. Mrs. Chen started a meal train. Other neighbors we'd barely spoken to brought clothes, toiletries, gift cards. A local contractor volunteered to rebuild Emma's room first, with even better accessibility features. The community showed up in ways Patricia never could have imagined. 6 months later, we moved back into our rebuilt home. Emma's room has 3 exits now, smoke detectors that could wake the dead, and absolutely no locks she didn't control herself. Patricia took a plea deal, house arrest, massive fines, community service, and a restraining order. She sold her house and left the state. I never saw her again, but I see her in every HOA horror story, every Karen next door tale, every moment when someone decides that rules matter more than people. I see her in the impulse to control, to exclude, to decide who belongs. Emma's 15 now. She started a blog about accessibility and disability rights. She speaks at schools about acceptance. When people ask her about the fire, she says, "Some people see wheelchairs and think broken. I see a woman who fought through fire to save her daughter. That's not broken. That's love." She's right. Love isn't perfect houses and perfect lawns. It's choosing people over property, compassion over control. It's breaking windows and breaking rules when the alternative is unthinkable. Patricia wanted to lock us out of her perfect world. Instead, she showed our community who we really were, who they really were, and it wasn't her. We're still here. Emma just learned to make macarons. We only burned them a little bit. And that padlock? The police kept it as evidence. But sometimes I think about it, that symbol of someone's need to control, to punish, to exclude. Then I look at my daughter, alive and laughing and teaching the world what real strength looks like. Some locks were meant to be broken.